Hi, so this is an update on the frame. I've finally got the legs glued together, and as you can see here, I've put the top plates on just on one side, so it actually works out quite well. I think one of the points is that if I wanted to put side pieces on down here, it would just push straight in. If we were talking about aluminium version of this, or even wood, I would have to put some form of pieces to come off to actually bracket onto. But it's an idea at the moment. My main reason for making them like this was just to make them a lot lighter. There is that one done. I wanted something that was really light, something that was more skeletal, something more had the look of rolling off the factory line, minus all the external painting. I think you've probably heard me go on about wanting to build an R2 that was a bit like this episode 1 C-3PO, that was no skin plating or anything. This is probably the closest I can, well, not closest, this is the start of an idea in that direction. Because what I imagine is I could have just wiring all running down here and bits and pieces coming off it. If I didn't have any skins on the frame, you could have all wiring and all that hanging off. Now I think one of the comments was about the weakness once it's actually got the legs on, and I actually think it's probably, if I was going to stick with this MDF, I would have trouble, because these legs, like I have got this supported down here, I did find without support, if I can actually pull that out of the way, hopefully I don't destroy the frame in the process, but can you see the wobble in the frame? So it's got the definite weakness there as far as this as a MDF version. If I wanted to stick with MDF or apply, I would have to definitely make some improvements. So now I can continue on talking. I'm just going to put that box back under and support the frame. Okay, sorry about that. So if it was me, if I wanted to pursue this, keep this frame as MDF, which I know some people don't like, but I actually don't mind. It's a prototype anyway. It's conceptualizing it, seeing if it actually has some chance of working. Again, if this was done in aluminium, we'd have a completely different story. There would be strength, and a lot more strength in it if we had aluminium. But then again, if this all was aluminium, the hubs and the legs, you would still have a lot of weight on it. So you probably still get away with it. I just see as a wood version, what would need to happen is, I tend to think that I would need to add some form of cross piece across here at the top, at least, to give this whole top section support. And if I'm going to stick with MDF or wood, I would definitely have to do something across here. If you can see where I'm going across here, across this lower section, I've got to come up with, oops, gone out of focus. Let's see if I can get back into focus. There you are. Sorry. So I would need to have something top and bottom to give this specific wood frame a bit of support. But as I said, idea was this was to conceptualize a prototype in MDF to actually see if the aluminium version would be okay. I have a lot of confidence that the aluminium version would be quite strong. As far as that center section, this is what you would recognize this as the ANA frame. I've been spraying it white basically. Problem with the black is it gets really dirty and dusty, and I preferred to try out the white. So I've actually been spraying this with just an enamel, and it actually goes on really well. I think the styrofoam soaks up the paint really well. So, but that bears it, eh? The middle section at the top, this cross piece, this gives this whole frame strength. This kind of box section here, I think it's the same as Frank's, was it Frank's styrene frame? It has that box section unit, and that gives the whole top section structure. And I know people have been telling me that for ages with any of the work that I've done, you need to strengthen the top section, and slow as I am, I agree. It needs a top section. Like the ANA frame, this needs some form of top support. I think I did start to throw some ideas about in that regard. So I will have to work on this. Seeing I've got an MDF frame sitting here, I'll probably just keep on running with it at the moment, rather than putting it on the shelf, as that was a good prototype or good concept. I actually want to try and push this along, so I probably will make some cross pieces at the top, cross piece at the bottom, because I actually want to put a center foot in and have this standing on 3 legs. So back to this. As you can see, this is I didn't actually bolt that in properly, which is not a good idea. So I've got these screwed on, which in concept of those type of legs was, in wood or in aluminium, that you would have these pieces here and that piece down there in 3mm aluminium fixed on. If it was in aluminium, instead of having, 6 pieces there, I'd only have 1 piece here, 1 piece there, and some form of spacer to space it apart. But that does the job. So say I'm happy with the actual appearance without those on. I just wanted to put them on to show you how that looks. Again, the thing I like about it is it's got that groove pre-done for us. Obviously, yeah, I actually quite like that part of it. So yeah, there's where we are at the moment. And I'm quite grateful for the Facebook comments and concerns, and I agree that if this is wood, it needs more structural support. If it was aluminium, probably. But I would probably go to the test stage of actually making an aluminium and then seeing the strength of how it goes. And again, one comment I have always made is that if this is in aluminium and it had an aluminium skin on and the skin was bolted on, the structure would be even more solid. I think what is minimalized in the frame structure, once you've got a bolted skin on, aluminium skin on any frame like this that's minimal, it would be extremely strong. I found that, as I've mentioned on previous posts, frame that I made once before, I trimmed a lot of the internals out of it so that it was basically your basic side, just a ring top with no center support, no center supports in the center or below. Bolted it on, and the actual frame was solid. But anyway, that's just an idea, some thoughts. So the next stage, I think, for this will be actually taking designing the lower foot, the lower center foot, and possibly making some adjustments to the top here. Okay, thank you.